So in this segment, we're going to be talking about emergency Brexit powers for lorry queues to be made permanent. So emergency powers to handle post-Brexit queues of lorries heading for France. So these are just lorries leaving the country, not coming in, are going to be made permanent, signalling that the government expects further cross-channel disruption. So do you remember all of that stuff? We're not going to have any problems. And the next thing you know, there's a lorry park in Kent. So the good people of Kent, when you say you knew what you voted for when it comes to Brexit, I don't want to hear any complaints from any Tory voters, any Brexit voters. Don't want to hear it. Operation Brock, a traffic management system designed to cope with queues of up to 13,000 lorries, 13 grand, it's over 9,000 lorries heading for the mainland Europe across Kent, was meant to end by October 2021 after being extended once when the Brexit transition period ended in December 2020. So you're talking about probably around the Christmas period and some of the other busy periods during the year, Operation Brock will be implemented, and that's going to cause havoc for the people of Kent and anyone trying to go through the Dover-Calais crossing. Ministers are planning to make the provisions indefinite by removing sunset clauses. So that means that sunset clauses are when laws are going to expire by themselves, and they've been removed. So that didn't go through Parliament, which is odd, or maybe it did, I don't know. It means that the emergency protocol can be activated at any time to govern the flow of lorries around the port of Dover and Channel Tunnel at Folkestone with contraflow system. So that's a bit of jargon there, but basically it means that it kind of explains the system here, which we'll talk about in a minute, where this road will be used only for lorries. These lanes here will be used only for lorries to get so there's no big traffic jams, and people don't try and do detours around here to get to Dover, etc. So it's good for the lorry drivers. It's generally okay for the country to do this. The only people it's going to irritate are people trying to drive to France and the people of Kent. The change was published quietly in a consultation response on the government's website during parliamentary recess. So they've just snuck this through with no consultation for the people of Kent, or the country for that matter. Shocker. These are the people that the people of Kent voted for, so enjoy it. These were well away from Westminster with statutory instruments to be laid in September, so we'll get more details about specifics, but we already know the specifics because this has been implemented before. Shapps, the Transport Secretary, has previously acknowledged that the traffic system which allows lorries exclusive use of one side of the M20 motorway frustrated residents and businesses. Under the contingency plan at the Eastbourne M20, the main artery to Dover and the Eurotunnel at nearby Folkestone is closed to normal traffic exclusively for lorries. This, the side going towards France. And so when Brock is active, all HGVs heading to the EU via Dover or Eurotunnel must join the coastbound M20. So all lorries have to take this road, and that's where you're going to get further problems where they can't take detours via the M2, or this road is the A20. I have no idea about roads, but they can't come from Manston either. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me, shows you how much of an adult I am, but you can get what I'm saying. You can't come from this side, essentially. All lorries will have to go through the J8, the J9, to get to Dover. Freight must be held within the Brock queue between J8 and J9 and will be released when capacity at the port is available. So they might be stuck there for hours, essentially, if there's no availability at the port. Which shows you the kind of traffic the government are expecting thanks to Brexit. EU-bound HGVs are not permitted to use the M2 from Junction 5 or the A2 when Brock is active. The M20 remains open to all other traffic via a contraflow on the London-bound carriageway. So basically all of the cars are going to have to get off the road to make way for the lorries. The government consultation response said removing the sunset clauses would provide Kent Resilience Forum with the ability to respond to circumstances appropriately and swiftly, minimising any disruption. And do you know what? The government aren't going to get as much blame for this because it's up to this Kent Resilience Forum. It won't be down to the government. So what that tells you is that the government are trying to avoid blame for the use of Operation Brock. And if the people of Kent are smart, they ain't going to fall for that. Brock was Operation Brock response plans will continue to be for temporary use and only implemented if strict and necessary to minimise traffic congestion in Kent caused by disruption at the short strait. So how often will they use it? Probably a few times a year, I'd imagine. I don't think it'll be a ton of times, but during Christmas, most definitely. If the weather's very adverse, then it's going to happen. However, MP said the underlying cause for the threat of cross-channel disruption was Brexit. Shocker. Sarah Olney, the transport spokeswoman for the Lib Dems, said it's British businesses and consumers who are being harmed the most by Conservatives' botched deal with the EU, which is true. Absolutely true. It is businesses and consumers who are being harmed, especially if you live around the area. The pollution's going to be really, really bad. Not to mention the fact that the lorry park never sleeps either. So you've got a constant blight of artificial lights combined with a massive uptake in pollution. But hey, you guys knew what you voted for, so it's fine. With this move, they are essentially admitting that the disruption that the local residents have had to endure will be long-lasting and persist for the foreseeable future, not teething problems then. Instead of fixing the underlying cause and listening to the concerns of the people of Kent, all Tory ministers are doing is papering over the cracks. It's not good enough, and if the people of Kent want a change, maybe the Lib Dems are an option here, as much as I despise them. Maybe they're your go-to, and maybe they'll help resolve these problems for Kent, because the Conservative Party are the ones who've caused these problems for the city. Jim McMahon, the Shadow Transport Secretary, said, this is a Labour guy, by removing the sunset clauses on Operation Brock, it's an admission that they have failed to plan for the outcome of their Brexit negotiations and failed to work with the local people over the past 18 months to put a better scheme in place. The question I'd ask Labour is, what is a better scheme the government could put in place? Answer: there isn't. This scheme is designed to basically clear out as many lorries as possible going from the UK into the EU via Kent. That's what it's designed to do. It's not, the worst plan in the world. It's a necessity. So this argument that the shadow transport guy is making is not a great argument, because I would ask, what are Labour going to do in place of this? And if the answer isn't SPS agreements, etc., to lower the amount of customs, thus kind of enabling the traffic to flow through quicker, you ain't got an answer there, dog. Operation Brock has proved unpopular locally, and slipping out an announcement in the hope no one notices shows a total disregard for the concerns of local people in Kent. And again, I'm going to stress to the people in Kent that if you want to change, maybe it's time to vote someone that's not wearing the blue rosette. Ministers must explain whether they looked at other options and what mitigation measures they are going to put in place to ensure reduced disruption affecting local communities. And once again, I'm asking the Labour Party, what are your proposals then in this case? Because it's very easy to criticise, and you guys are not offering much to help the local people of Kent. Maybe there's some voters there who might vote for you if you offer them good solutions. I don't know. I'm not a paid consultant. Naomi Smith, the chief executive of the internationalist campaign Best for Britain, said this is an admission that, far from teething problems, the government expects supply problems from their rushed Brexit deal to continue indefinitely. And that is absolutely the case. This is some great analysis from her. These aren't teething problems if they're permanent, and if we're going to see them used multiple times in a year. Even if it's 2 or 3 times, we didn't have to do this before, which tells you, apart from, I think, during the pandemic, we had to do something like this once because of the France closing down the border. I could be wrong on that one. Point being is that in normal times, sort of BC before COVID, we didn't have these issues. So it does tell you that this government have no idea what they're doing, and this solution they have is a result of Brexit. Shelves are empty and our supply chains are already at breaking point. The government should be seeking improvements to their deal with Europe rather than preparing to make Kent a permanent lorry park. Well, in fairness, for a small part of it, this kind of change will not reduce the impact of shortages within the UK. These are lorries leaving the UK. Maybe they're going to come back. They'll pick some stuff up in France or Germany or wherever and come back. But chances are they've got other jobs to do within the EU, and they'll probably go back and do multiple trips there, cabotage, which they can't do anymore. So this kind of argument here is a bit. It's not the right article for this one, that's all I'm saying. Naomi Smith, the chief executive of we mentioned her, shelves. Operation Brock has proved unpopular with residents as a way of managing local traffic, but the local authorities believe it has reduced disruption overall, which makes sense that if you clear out all the lorries to go through one road, it means the other roads are more free, but at the same time, we didn't need to do this before the bad times, so it does tell you that, not great. So the government had previously said the flow across Channel freight, they lied about the 2 to 3% thing not being turned back because a lot of them were empty, and no expectation that the worst case scenario it had modelled of 7,000 trucks queuing at Kent would be realised. I mean, let's not forget here, those were empty trucks for the most part leaving because the European companies didn't want their lorries stuck in the UK because of customs checks and issues. A Department for Transport said Operation Brock measures will remain temporary and only be used when there's a significant risk of delays. I mean, it's going to be used more than once, I can tell you that for free. Definitely around Christmas we'll see it. Brock was created to deal with disruption created by the transition period, and it's permanent, which shows you that that's what Brexit is. This is a permanent scar on Kent and also on the UK. And the question I asked the good people of Kent is that, are you going to do something about it and maybe vote for a change, lobby your MP and say, look, I'm not going to vote Tory if you guys keep this idiocy up and don't get it resolved? Or are you going to continue to vote for the same party which implemented this because you guys have no idea what you're doing? And, even though things are bad now, it would have been worse with Jeremy Corbyn. Oh wait, should I say Keir Starmer? Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.